Honestly, some of these are just pure, unadulterated, smutty brain rot. Hi friends, my name is Liza and welcome to my book club. Today I am going to be giving you guys 5 book recommendations for fantasy romance that are not ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. I feel like every time I browse some sort of forum or I see posts online, book talk videos asking for recommendations for fantasy romance, it is always the same 5 books. It's Fourth Wing, ACOTAR, Crescent City. That's really it. We never really have any other recommendations that are not, those guys. While a lot of people enjoy those books, I personally did not really love them. I know that's a brave statement for the book talk community. In my opinion, at least, they really just weren't for me. So I'm going to give you guys 5 book recommendations that I personally really enjoyed. Are these books perfect and have no flaws whatsoever? No, honestly, some of these are just pure, unadulterated, smutty brain rot. And honestly, I love it. So, without further ado, here are 5 fantasy romance recommendations that are not ACOTAR or Fourth Wing. First, I have The Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. This is the first book in the Halfling saga. Follows our main character, who is a trained assassin. She is the blade of the crown, and she is sent by the crown to find this person that goes by the Shadow. And she's told that the Shadow is doing really dangerous, horrible things that are undermining the crown and putting people at risk. And so our main character is more than happy to go out, hunt them down, and take care of them, if you know what I mean. But once she finds the Shadow, things start not making sense. Things are not really what they appear to be, and neither is the Shadow. When things in Kira's past come back to haunt her and she is kind of held to the expectation of promises she made in the past, things start to unravel very quickly for her, and she has to work with the Shadow to make sure that her and the kingdom stay safe. This was one of my favorite reads of 2024. The entire saga, I think, is very good. These are the Storygraph stats. I think the rating on Storygraph is a little harsh. Is the book perfect? No, I think there are some pacing issues, but overall, I think it is a fantastic fantasy romance. This is a really good option. Next, I have The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is an amazing book. If you have not read this, if you pick up any one of these books that I'm recommending today, please let it be this one. This is an amazing, amazing, amazing book. It follows a princess who is kind of trapped within her role in society. She's not really able to do the things that she wants to do, and her brother is, let's just say, he's out there, okay? He is out there. He is not the best, and he's in line for the crown. One of our princess's maidservants, Priya, dreams of freedom. She just wants to get out of there. She wants to not be a maidservant anymore. Our princess and Priya end up working together to overthrow and overcome a really corrupt political system. Really, it's very gritty, it's very complex. There's political intrigue, there's romance. It is a sapphic romance that is inspired by Indian folklore and Indian culture. It is so beautiful. It's very different than, I think, the regurgitated fantasy romance we find often recommended. It is so incredibly rich in culture and history. It's a really empowering story of 2 women that are kind of crushed beneath the thumb of a patriarchal society, but in 2 very different ways, and how they have to navigate these roles that they play in order to overthrow this really horrific political sphere that they are living in. It is a very female-driven, female rage, female empowerment. It is like a reclamation of what femininity looks like or could look like in a fantasy world. It is, honestly, I could go on and on about how amazing this book is. An amazing author that Tasha Suri is. Please, please, please try this one. Next, I have Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. I did a full review on my YouTube channel. I will link it down below if you want to check that out. But Metal Slinger follows our female main character, Bryn, who is part of this nation called Alhala, which has been outcasted and excluded onto water from the main kingdom, Kenta, for hundreds of years. And that's important because all of the magic in this world comes from the land. It comes from the earth itself. Everybody that is exiled to Alhala, they don't have access to any magic or any powers because they are stranded on the water. Bryn is part of the training army unit of the next generation of Alhala soldiers, and every year they go to this market that is right next to Kenta, where the magic is. And when Bryn and her fellow soldiers go to this market, Bryn is ambushed by one of the Kenta soldiers that accuses her of stealing and threatens to cut off her hand. I feel like that's kind of an overreaction, but okay. When this soldier threatens to cut off Bryn's hand, of course, she and her other soldiers fight back. There is a big hullabaloo about everything. Some things are blown up and some fights break out, but eventually Bryn and her fellow soldiers are able to make it back to the ship and then back to Alhala safely. That is until our male main character, Acker, shows up to Alhala, and what would you know? He is the soldier that tried to cut off Bryn's hand. When they put Acker in a cell, the only person he will speak to is Bryn. And when Bryn goes to visit him, he starts putting these thoughts in her head, these doubts about who she is, what Alhala is, why they have been exiled. And he convinces her to go on this journey with him to Kenta so that they can unlock her magic and figure out who the heck she actually is and where she needs to be. Most of this book follows Bryn and Acker on their journey from Alhala to Kenta. They encounter a bunch of obstacles along their way. Our characters are very sassy, very competent in this book. It does end on a cliffhanger that is just completely, absolutely out of left field. Like, you will literally never see this coming. Whether or not you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, check out my video if you want to hear more on my thoughts on the plot twist at the end of this. But the other books are not released yet. This is the first in a series, and it only came out, I think, in March of 2024. The second book does not have a release date yet. So if you don't like cliffhangers and you don't like waiting for sequels, maybe wait to pick this one up. But I do think it is an excellent book. Next, I have The Last Hour Between Worlds by Melissa Caruso. I actually got this book. It's a special edition from Illumicrate. I think it is so beautiful. The inside cover is so gorgeous. Like, this is so beautiful. And then the inside is also illustrated. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Ta-da! I think this is so incredibly beautiful. I saw this when I pulled it out and I was like, lesbians? Is this about lesbians? Yes, it is about lesbians. This is another sapphic fantasy romance on my recommendation list. They're all so good. So this is The Last Hour Between Worlds by Melissa Caruso. It is about our female main character, Kimbra, who is a investigator. She is at a ball enjoying some personal private time away from her new baby when people start dropping dead. Like, they start dying all around her, and she's like, what the heck is happening? Like, I'm supposed to be here having a good time, taking a break away from my baby, and all of a sudden people are dying? What is this? Moms just can't catch a break. And so Kimbrel, she's got to clock in. She's got to lock in to what's going on around her. She is a member of the Guild of Hounds, which is kind of like this really hardcore investigative unit. And they are on the prowl for Kimbrel's arch nemesis, which is the notorious notorious cat burglar Rika. And she's also abnormally sexy. Like, I think it's pretty clear. It's very clear that there's like some unresolved tension between the two. Like Kimbrel is a cop basically, and Rika is her arch nemesis who is just evading her at every turn. She just can't get her claws into her, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you guys gonna kiss? Are you guys gonna kiss? I hope so. I hope so. And so Rika is just like, she's like, no, this isn't me. Like, I'm not doing this. I don't know what's happening any more than you do. And there's also like this big clock that's in the middle of the ballroom that's a very ominous countdown. And nobody really knows what it's counting down to or why it is suddenly counting down. They just know that it's bad, right? Like, if a random clock just shows up in the middle of a ballroom where people start dying and then it starts counting down, I think we can all agree that that would be very scary and very ominous. And so Rika and Kimbrel have to start working together in order to figure out what the clock is counting down towards and how they can unravel this mystery and hopefully save the world together. And last on my recommendations for today is Burn For Me by Ilona Andrews. I actually read this book last week and I really liked it. I read it on my Kindle and I purchased a physical copy of the entire series for my bookshelf. Burn For Me by Ilona Andrews is an urban fantasy, so it's set in a modern day world with modern technologies, cars, cell phones, computers, internet, things like that, except it also has magic. In the early 1800s, European scientists discovered this like serum that they can inject into humans, and it makes them manifest different sorts of magical powers. Like, it's giving very X-Men, you know what I mean? Everybody kind of has like a different power, but it's genetically linked. So if your parents are a telepath, then like you're probably going to be a telepath, that kind of thing. And so over generations, they start kind of getting into like marrying for power so that they can produce children that have even like more power than they do. And as you can imagine, this kind of leads to like certain groups of people in certain families, affluent families, having more power than others. And so there's this like systemic hierarchy within the magical system. And I think that's very interesting. So people that have magical powers in this universe, there is like a tier, there's like a ranking, and you can either be like low on the ranking or you can be high on the ranking of magical like poweress. And the highest amount of like magical power that you can have, you are referred to as a prime. So like you are super magically powered, like you got the goods if you're a prime. And being a prime offers you a lot of societal power as well, like money, riches, fame, like product endorsements, things like that. And so Burn For Me follows our female main character, Nevada, who is a private investigator who has the power of being able to tell if people are lying or not. So anytime somebody lies to her, she has like this little radar in the back of her mind that's like, oh, that's a lie. You're lying. And that makes her really good at being a private investigator, of course. So she owns this private investigating firm that was founded by her father, who unfortunately passed away a few years earlier, and it's owned now by her and her family. However, in order to pay for her late father's medical bills, they end up selling the private investigator firm to a larger, like, corporation of smaller conglomerate, I don't really know, business stuff, right? Basically, some asshole came along and said, hey, I will pay for your father's medical bills if you sell me his company. And they're like, well, we have to. Otherwise, we're going to end up out on the street. And so that's what they do. And everything is going fine up until this larger umbrella company reaches out to Nevada and says that they have an assignment for her. They have a task, and she's to go out and to capture this guy named Adam, who is kind of wreaking havoc in the city of Houston. He's lighting things on fire. He is being a nuisance. He's running around without a shirt on. Like, someone needs to take him home to his mom, right? And that's exactly what the people task her to do. They say, hey, go get Adam and bring him back to his mom. She's paying us a lot of money, and so we need you to accomplish this task for us. But Nevada realizes very quickly that she's kind of over her head. Like, Adam is a prime. He's a pyrotechnic prime, so he can literally light her on fire just by thinking about it. And she realizes that she needs a little bit more juice, like she needs a little bit more power to back her up so that she doesn't end up, unfortunately, dying trying to apprehend Adam for this bigger company. And that is when our male main character, Mad Rogan, comes into the picture. You see, Adam has kidnapped or is holding his nephew hostage. And so Mad really needs to get to his nephew. So Mad Rogan and Nevada pair up after a very unfortunate, just a little bit of kidnapping by Rogan. Just a little kidnapping, like no harm, no foul, right? He kidnaps Nevada, demands her help. She refuses because she's kind of a badass like that. But eventually they realize that they're better off together than they are apart. The book is full of tension. It is full of conflict, not only with the plot, but also between Nevada and Rogan. Nevada does not like Mad Rogan. She thinks he is a crazy dude who should not be in the general public. Like, someone should put him away because he's unwell. Like, truly, he is truly unwell. But they have to work together in order to apprehend Adam and save Mad Rogan's nephew. And they have to do it fast because Adam is determined to burn down the entire city of Houston, Texas. This is a really good one. It is a little on the shorter side. I am not usually a fan of urban fantasies because I feel like there's a specific like tone to urban fantasies that are very like whimsical or like tongue-in-cheek. Lots of jokes that I don't think really land all the time. There is some of that in Burn For Me, but I do feel like it's a little reined in. Not quite as many unfunny jokes. There's a few where I was just kind of like, okay, we get it. But I love an unapologetically horny female main character. And that is Nevada Baylor. She is unapologetically horny, and I live for that. Relatable. So these are 5 fantasy romance recommendations for you guys that are not ACOTAR, not Fourth Wing, not Crescent City. If you have read any of them and you love them or you hate them, please let me know in the comments below. If you decide to pick up any of them and read them, please come back and tell me what you thought. I would love to hear your thoughts. I think out of these 5, if you decide to pick up just one of them, please let it be the Jasmine Throne. But if you're looking for something a little lighter, because I know the Jasmine Throne is kind of thick, I would recommend Burn For Me by Ilona Andrews. It's a fast read. It's a little shorter, not too serious, and it is very funny. So yeah, those are my recommendations. I hope you guys like them. But that is all for today. Until next time, my name is Liza. Be good, be safe. Bye.